If we don't find the people you need, you don't have to pay.
You can't have it all.
No, that's the thing. We are hiring a lot of 18 to 25-year-olds, but what I love even more is to see the people that we have hired in our company live the life they want. We had our first client within 2 or 3 weeks.
And I think a lot of people forget that you can get a lot of fulfillment about just doing hard work, you know?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Again, I don't care about the hours. I know that some of my best recruiters, they're not spending full 40 hours a week. But I don't care. They're delivering and, you know, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
It's super cliche right now.
Yeah.
Just say if you want something you never had, you have to do something you never done.
All right, so thank you so much for welcoming me today.
Thank you so much for having the time.
Yeah. Could you please tell me because you are originally from Denmark.
Yeah, I am.
What
as
brought you here?
As any other Scandinavian, having 8 months of darkness every year, it's very appealing to come here and have the sun and just a bit of better weather. So in the beginning, that's it. And then there's a lot of good business opportunities here in general. I think the mix of people from all around the world makes a big difference, and networking is just good here. Yeah. So it's a mix of weather and network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because why is it good, you think, here?
Why there's a big mix of everything? I mean, in general, I think for centuries, the nature, both the mountains and the Mediterranean, has attracted people from all around the world. Yeah. And well, there's a lot of wealth going around. And if you want to network and if you want to do business, that's always a good starting point.
Yeah, it definitely helps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what's well, that brought you here, but how did you came here? Because you mentioned a few interesting facts before we started the interview.
Yeah, so well, I've been coming here since I was 19. I started as an au pair, and then I moved back to Denmark to study. Then I moved to Malta for some years to study again, and ended up spending 5 years there. And then at some point during Corona, it started feeling small. Like then you really felt that Malta was an island far away from everything. Yeah. And mid-Corona, I think we just decided that it would be, for me, it would be nice to come a little closer to family. And as well, since after Corona, our company, which we're probably going to talk a bit about after, also went fully remote. So it actually opened the opportunity to think about like where do we want to live and where do I feel good, and the nature around here is something that really attracts me.
Yeah. Could you tell me about your company?
Yeah. About 6 years ago, we founded a recruitment company called Job Squad, representing. And we did it because, well, I was done with my master degree and I worked a little bit with other recruitment agencies doing similar things. So we hire language-based talent all around Europe, providing gap year jobs or first jobs abroad, also working with the bigger higher brands to help them find, like, again, language-based or specific talent that they need. So it's various jobs. Before Corona, we had an office in Copenhagen where the company is founded originally. And then before Corona, we then started the Maltese office, which became our biggest. And then we had a small fly office in Malaga, in Fuengirola. Then Corona came, and we had to send everybody home with their screens and their laptops and go home and work, and we see where we go. So that was a really harsh turn, because we had no idea in like 2 to 3 months do we actually have work to offer these people, and we were about 15 at the time. So we had a firing day, which was quite interesting. So we had to tell everybody, you know, the next 3 months you'll still be on salary, but after that it's only commission based, and we have no idea what the future will bring. Feel free to stay with us. We hope you will stay, but we don't know. So I think we managed to keep about 10 or 11 people at that point. Closed down the offices, and then everything went remote. When we started Job Squad, we were sitting in my apartment and my business partner's apartment in Malta. We were sitting in cafes and university that I just finished. They had a really nice open workspace. We basically started from scratch, and we started on the idea that the recruitment agencies we used to work with, when you're sending people abroad, you want to do more than just be like, hi, you got the job, congratulations, you know, good luck. So what we do is we try to provide like a hand-holding period. So the first months, it's important for us because we don't get paid if they don't stay their trial period. But that also secures that my recruiters are doing a good job. They're actually matching the people with the correct jobs. They're not just sending people everywhere. We ensure that, well, we get paid, so that's always lovely, and we ensure that the companies are happy for our service.
Okay.
The previous companies we worked with, it was more like, oh, if the candidate starts on the first day, then you get paid, and then you don't have to follow up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we created JobSquad with the idea of following up on candidates, making sure that people actually were happy when we sent them abroad and got a really good experience. And since there, we've been growing. So we went from being 10, 11 people after mid-corona to now being 50, hopefully soon 60, sitting all around Europe, a few around the world, and working, helping people get jobs abroad.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds very incredible.
Yeah, it's been going quite fast when I look back. But again, Corona also gave us space. There's not much else to do than work. Yeah. So.
Well, it was obviously a very harsh transition and quite hard, but how did you manage to do that? What kind of forced you?
I think both my business partner and I are very good at just saying yes and taking each opportunity also as a challenge and just saying, what does it take? I think my business partner is maybe a little more brave than I am. I always saw myself as the one with the new ideas and everything. And in this constellation, I'm actually the one pulling back sometimes. Like, oh, no, stop. We need to get everything settled. I think when you're not afraid of taking chances, we've been bootstrapping, which means all money coming into the company has been in the company and being able to develop it. None of us owns cars. He lives in Copenhagen and I live here, and we're happy with our bikes. We don't live extravagant lifestyles. Oh. So I think that helps. And when you don't have two leaders on a big paycheck, then you can go quite far. Yeah.
And what is your ambition then with the company? I'm not saying that it should be about money, because it shouldn't.
But it always helps. It's funny because we never started having a business plan. As I said, we really just started out by saying, okay, there's a gap in the market here. There is a need, and what can we do to fill that, and how can we do that in the best possible way? And then we've just been going with it. We never had a business plan. Like in the first 3 months, we didn't have a name. We didn't have a logo. We didn't have a website, So I love that I help people get jobs abroad, but what I love even more is to see the people that we have hired in our company live the life they want. We have one of our Danish girls, she's just been traveling all of Asia, living in hostels, exploring life. She's in her mid-20s, helping a lot of people get abroad. Now she's exploring South America, and she's doing both. She's working full-time and really doing an amazing job, at the same time as she can travel the world and live the lifestyle she wants. Yeah. At the same time, we have a Finnish girl sitting in Turkey. She has a family life, and she's managing to match her full-time job with also have a lot of time for her kids and have freedom for that. So what I love even more is that we have 50 people that we actually helping live the life they want to live. Yeah,
that must be very fulfilling.
It is. Yeah. So I think for me, I would probably be happy if we can keep growing JobSquad. We're always looking for new, exciting collaborations with large companies so we can provide even more jobs for people. And then lately, we founded a real estate company in Greece because we hire a lot of people in Greece. So we figured it would be smart to help them actually get a place to live. It's something we've been playing with for the last year, both in Latvia and in Athens. Okay. 2 months ago, we said go and signed the papers. So we are the proud owners of VAT numbers and and a lot of Greek paperwork.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you would help them then find a place, or are you going to develop property yourself so that they can live there?
So at the moment, we're subletting apartments on the idea that people can rent a room for us, so we can help them with the first months for free so they can actually settle in, because we can do the best of matching up with people in new companies and new exciting places, but if they have no place to live, then they're not going to last. No. And it's really hard in the south to find an apartment for just 6 months or 8 months. You have to minimum sign up for a year, and with that comes internet, electricity, water, everything. So when you come and you're like, oh, I have 8 months, I want to spend that in Athens, the first challenge is to find a place where you can actually stay. Yeah. So we just bought, I think, 2 properties that we will try and develop and make the best of use at, and then see how that goes, and then hopefully be able to buy more. Mm-hmm. But again, it's the yes. Keep going with that, and we've been taking some chances, and hopefully it will pay off.
Yeah. But if you are able to buy properties in the first place, that means you are at least in a position that you are able to, well, that you do well, let's say.
Yeah,
let's keep it like that.
we are.
Just slightly going back to when you first started, how did you got your first clients?
So I was lucky. I started not just with the business partner I have today, but we were actually 3.
Okay.
2 of them were in Denmark, and I was in Malta. And because of the company we all 3 worked in previously, one of the guys were already doing sales there. And at one point when we saw, okay, this is happening, breaking it off very, very clear. But he obviously already worked on a pipe and had... He's been working in sales for many years before that, and with other recruitment agencies. So he has a really, really good insight to the business and to the industry. So for him, it wasn't hard to say, okay, I can't contact these is past, but then at least I know that if there's that in this company, then this country, then there is. So he's been really, really good at reaching out. And we had our first client within 2 or 3 weeks. So again, not having a website, not having an office. Our first person we hired in the company there was 3 of us, and then we hired an English guy, and we were literally sitting in my flat, in the other guy's flat, in cafes, and
Very good. And what did you offer them? Did you remember? Have you changed that much?
Actually, the same as we do now, because we have a little bit of the living situation and that real estate part, we can offer a bit more. But back then it was the same. Hey, we are matching to the job. So basically we are, and it sounds a bit harsh, but we are providing people for jobs, whereas we're also providing jobs for people, but we basically get like, can you find 20 French people? Can you find 10 Danish people? Can you find 5 German people? And they need to have this background, and they need to be able to start on this date. And then we send that to our recruitment teams, and then they're starting the research and the screening. It's the same we provide now, and the fact that we are providing that, hey, no cure, no pay. If we don't find the people you need, you don't have to pay. This put a little bit of a heavy weight on our shoulders and a little bit of expectations to our recruiters, but it also ensures that people are not slacking in the job we're doing. And we only get paid if we deliver. And that was the first thing we offered, and that's still what we're offering. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense if you are confident that what you sell and what you offer, that you do a good job, then you are able to make those kind of commitments. Yeah,
we only hire people within Job Squad who has lived abroad themselves. I'm not interested in having a German guy sitting in Berlin hiring Germans to move abroad, because the authenticality of that there's a mismatch. We need to make sure that when our candidates, whether they're 19 or they're 35 or 40, if they get homesick or they're confused or they're lost in an airport, we need to make sure that our recruiters can actually handle that and come with their own experience and in a safe way guide people through it.
Yeah, you really need experience for that.
Yeah.
And it can be very lonely and daunting and scary when you move abroad.
I remember one of the things we promised some of our first clients is, we speak this many languages. And we did. But that was also me speaking both Norwegian and Swedish. And whereas I understand it fully, grammatically correctly, I don't speak it fluently. So, there will be a Swedish person sitting laughing at me. He would understand what I'm saying, but he'd also be like, stupid Danish person, But I was the Swedish person at that point. Now we have a fully Nordic developed team, and so we did sell that we spoke a lot of languages, probably not all of them fluent. Today we do, so that's something that's changed.
And I'm immediately wondering, because I've been struggling with that a lot myself, actually. I'm originally from the Netherlands. We moved here to the French Riviera. We have developed the business club. That's how we met. So that's quite a good market, but I have been working in marketing for over a decade now, and I've always, you speak with lots of people over the years, you work with multiple companies also in different countries, but there is a truth and logic to finding the right market for your service. So let's say if I do marketing, give a very easy example or a simple example, which is social media. You can do that here, or you can do that in Dubai, or you can do it for a fundraiser or whatsoever. That will very heavily influence how much you are going to earn and how you get compensated. How did you find that right balance for you? How did you find the markets?
Yeah, the thing is we have two markets, right? So we have the companies, which is, I mean, they have a need. So it's not too hard to go up to them and say, you need people that speak these languages. I have a team that can get that for you. Yeah. That's not the hardest sell. It takes a few calls, it takes a few meetings, and that's it. Okay. But then we have the other side of it. Then now I promised this company that I can get the people, then we need to get them. And at the moment, I think you mentioned social media. We are hiring a lot of 18 to 25-year-olds. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is main medias for us. It really is. And we are still struggling. TikTok is relatively new. For me, that's where my beautiful and lovely interns comes in. We collaborate with different schools around Europe, mainly their marketing departments. And we have 3 to 6 interns every semester working with us, doing social media, helping us with giving us a little slap in the butt when we stay too still in marketing, because I studied marketing, but years back. Mm-hmm. So again, luckily it was a bit of brand building, so hopefully some of those ideas still stand, but everything I learned about online marketing is passé. It's not working anymore.
But the principles have stayed the same. Principles, it's human psychology.
Yeah, exactly. So that's super interesting. But just having young people coming in and actually the target audience coming into work behind the scene with us, it helps us a lot. Yeah. And that's how we try to stay relevant on social medias and reach out. But we do everything from visit schools, trying to be on radio shows in different countries, post out in pamphlets, like old school medias, hang up in language schools, we're there, you know, and then on real platforms like European language jobs and all these like real job portals. But marketing part is hard because you need to be...
Yeah, but I could also imagine that you need to have some sort of focus, right? Because you can't... Well, you can operate globally. We try to
focus
on some areas.
We narrowed it down, so we say we are in Europe. Okay. And because of some European laws, it is hard to hire people that doesn't have visas. So before Brexit, we had jobs in the UK. We don't really anymore, because hiring a person for 6 months or 8 months in the UK still takes as much paperwork as hiring them for 5 years. So we are distinguished. We sometimes have some jobs in Asia or in South Africa, but those are big companies that then arrange all the visa work. We don't help with that. So that is already a part where we say it's within Europe. And then a lot of the jobs we have is based on gap year experiences. So again, they're 19 to 25-year-olds, so then we can narrow it down a bit more. Then when it comes to working on all the different markets and different languages, that's when it gets a bit hard.
And what is, if you're talking about the gap year experience, what is a typical gap year experience?
With us, it would be to go out and work as a customer support for any of our clients. That can be really big brands. And you sit and work in your own language, but you work in an international environment. So next to you sits, if it's a Danish person we send abroad, next to you is a German, behind you is a French, in front of you is a Spanish. You sit in an open office environment, and the only need is you need to speak English. And then your own language. And you'll be facing customers. Training will be in English, but you'll be facing customers in your own language. So you moving to Spain or Italy or Greece or Bulgaria, it doesn't matter because you have your language. So you shouldn't be too nervous in the job. And then you still have the mental, strength to go out afterwards and have fun. A part of what we're trying to offer is also we try to do like meetups. So in Athens, we have like 20 to 40 people every month meeting up. We buy them dinner and then they can meet each other. That's a part of the gap year experience. We want to make sure that they're not sitting alone and being nervous, that they're actually going out and meeting each other.
Yeah, you do a lot more than just giving them the job.
Yeah, like we do. But that's again coming from the idea of I moved abroad when I was 19. So my business partner has traveled around. All the people we work with have done this. So we can easily, or much easier probably than others, spot where is their hole that we need to fill? Where is the issues? Where is people dropping out? Where are people getting too nervous? And then we're trying to fill that up. If it's a simple bowling event, it's easy. It doesn't cost us much, but it makes the massive difference for the people we send abroad.
Yeah. And do they usually stay a long time would you?
That's the fun part. We are trying to say minimum 6 months. So when people go abroad, they have an expectation of it minimum being 6 months. Sometimes it ends up being 3 years. Sometimes it's only 3 weeks. Yeah. But that's always when I'm talking to people at the first, when I'm still recruiting. So is my business partner. We want to stay true to what we started. But when I'm talking to people, I'm asking like, what are your plans? You can quite easily say if you are planning to start studying in August, okay, then how many months do you have until August? And then we can calculate, does it make sense? We don't send people abroad if it's only 3 months, because that's simply too short. But then people can say, oh, I don't have any plans. I'm like, all right, I'm not asking and forcing you to stay, but it's always good that you're open-minded. Sure. Because I also have people calling me up and they're like, oh, I want to go abroad and I just want to live in Malta forever. And then they go back within a month. And then I have other people who are super nervous and end up staying for 3 years. Yeah. So yeah.
What would you say is then one of the biggest reasons for people to go back, to stop that job or that experience?
If I'm speaking for Nordic candidates, it's quite often, so it's funny because Nordic candidates, Holland, Germany, Scandinavia, Finland, are quite spoiled in the terms of like, yes, we move out early from our parents, we're quite independent. We also have a lot of opportunities. We have very good education systems. Like there is a lot where we're quite spoiled and expect also a certain standard of living, a certain standard of how apartments should look like, in general, just to how food should taste, how the bed should be to sleep in. And then a person from that goes to any of the southern countries where people are, because of the sun, going more out. They don't care about as much how their houses are looking like. Yeah. And then you have people come like, no, the bed was not nice to sleep in. I couldn't find the right food for my allergies. I was a lot of small things that can easily do that turnout. Yeah. It can also be that they experience something which is obviously not nice, like you get robbed on the first day, which is something we can't promise.
It's unlucky.
It's unlucky, so there's some of those. Then it can be expectations to the job that they simply realize because maybe they worked in a store or cafe face to people and sitting on the phone on a headset, speaking to clients, being a bit negative, calling in with questions. That's tough as well. And if people have other expectations. So our finest job is to level their expectations. No, don't expect that it's Scandinavian living that you move into. It's a furnished apartment, but it's not. Yeah. It's not the same standard. But expect that the beaches are nicer. It's always a give and take.
Yeah. I do remember that the first time that I went to Malta, I had an expectation as well of how it looked. And it was quite a culture shock, to be honest. And then you feel really spoiled indeed and a bit arrogant to state that everything looks in a certain way. But you definitely find, at least in my experience, that the southern countries or where the sun is shining generally, they tend to live outside. So they care a little bit less about how it looks inside.
Exactly.
They like to build palaces inside and everything must look pretty.
And we're also used to inviting people into our homes where in the south, in the south it's like, no, we meet in a restaurant, we meet in a cafe outside. Yeah. My first trip to Malta was with some friends and I remember we were running crazy around looking for the beaches. Because the beaches were so nice. And I was with an Estonian friend and, coming from the north, I think we have quite lovely sandy beaches. I believe it's the same in the Netherlands. The weather is not with us, but we have beautiful beaches. We just can't use them many months of the year. So we were looking for these sandy, beautiful beaches. And in the end, there was an old guy who was like, no, this is the beach. Yeah. And then he pointed at these rocks. We're like, oh, all right, we saw that. Like, okay. So expectation-wise, and I think, as I said before, it's one of our finest things as well as recruiters. It's not just selling a job. Yeah. It's also level with, especially the younger ones, like what does it take to move abroad? Yes, you will feel homesick. Everybody does. Yeah. And yes, your brain will be stressed because everything is new. Food, language, bed, work. Yeah, so...
Yeah. I've had that conversation a few times with people, in the Netherlands and from other countries as well, but try to imagine that anything that you do on a regular basis, on a daily basis, that you now have to suddenly do that in a language that you do not speak.
Yeah,
It can be very challenging.
Yeah, it really is. I studied in Malta, I studied a bit of neuroscience, and the biggest takeaway from there was how stressed your brain gets. You know, your normal trial period is 3 months when you start a new job.
Yeah.
If you're from Amsterdam and you start a new job, you have 3 months to figure out, is this actually for me? Nobody expects you to get good at it, but is this for me, right? Are you a fit? That's 3 months.
Yeah.
Imagine then if you take that new job, is this a fit for me? But also take you away from family, friends. You sleep in a bed that's not your own. You get lost all the time in the city. You know, the food is not the same. It's a new language. Yeah. Your brain is literally mashed potatoes. It's stressed beyond. And then in the middle of that, you're supposed to also meet new friends and be friendly. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It must also be a little bit maybe what you speak to people about founding the business club, I could imagine.
Yeah, well, we have that similar experience, but we have people from all ages, but it's always the same. It's always that.
Yeah.
I'd say the main reason for people to move back is because they can't really level with that or find it's just too difficult.
Yeah.
You know? And especially if you're a little bit older, I'd say, and you are not here because you need a job. So you have some money maybe in the bank, or you're able to survive for a year or sometime. It doesn't matter what it is. But if you are not immediately landing in a company or a college situation, it will be very difficult to find friends and meet people.
It is, and it's. I'll say I think it's the most important when we send people out, no matter what age group. Make sure that they just. Almost on the first day, have you met somebody? Yeah. How was the first day? Did you speak to somebody? Did you go out for a drink? Like, and a lot of people's like, no, I'm tired after traveling. I just want to settle in. And for me, that's almost the most worrying. No, don't settle in. Go out. Go out. Because if you settle in, then you start opening Facebook and Instagram and texting your friends back home and realizing how much you're missing and not realizing the adventure you're on.
Yeah, you're going in your safe bubble and try to protect yourself for whatever is outside your comfort zone. Yeah, that's what we're fighting the most about, the comfort zone, getting people out of that. But that's again, I enjoyed my gap year I took abroad, and in the end of the day, you asked me what I would like the future to look like. I just want to provide that to young people mainly, because I think that when you come back, today there's a huge pressure on what should you study, what should you become, and there's so many opportunities. It's stress just to choose an education. So the fact that you can go back from that stress, move a little bit away from your parents, expectations from friends, and actually just see, what do I like to do? What opportunities is out there? And at the moment, the world, I think, is changing so much. Like, everybody calls and says, like, I want remote jobs, but I also want colleagues. And I'm like, that's a hard balance, because if you're fully remote, you won't have your colleagues around. And there's an understanding that remote is what we want right now, but I see that a lot of people is not equipped to handle that yet. But speaking to young people about what they want for the future and how they can get there, because there's no straight way to getting to that point. You need to try different things and see what is for you. And the fact that we can provide that, I think, is really nice. And I hope we can keep doing that. I hope so too for you. But I think you will. How would you say is that that balance then with remote work? Because I do understand that people would say, I want a remote job, but indeed you also need, we are social animals. And even with work, very often, at least personally, I find it much easier to be in a work environment, so you can separate your personal life and work life in a way, talk about ideas, share that. So how would you see that developing then in the near future?
I think, first of all, and I'm really passionate on the side about education system, because I do think there's a gap in the jobs that's coming in the future, and the education system. The education system is still training you to collaborate really face-to-face, and almost not factory settings, but office settings. You need to go out and get a job in an office. There you have to behave in this certain way. There you need to have these certain skills, and almost certain in the first jobs that you get, if it's in an office setting, you will have a mid-manager who might or might not be trained to do that. So there will be some micromanagement. There will be somebody telling you almost hour a day what to do. And if you go remote, there is a more freedom of responsibility, we call it. You know, I don't care if you don't work all 40 hours exactly. I don't care if you take longer lunch breaks. If you end up having filling the KPIs and the goals that we set for you. But then on the other hand, if you don't do that, then I do expect that you put in some, I think it's called interest hours, you know. So some weeks you work a little bit more, some weeks you work a little bit less, but you have to manage your days exactly. You have to get out of bed. You have to do these things. And
how did you do that for your own team? Because you work now with over 50 people remotely.
Again,
do you have very strict KPIs, for example?
We do have some KPIs, yes, and I think you need to, because in the end of the day, we ask them, reach out if you have issues. If I don't hear from you, I expect that everything is going well. But then if I come to the end of the month and I can see nothing has happened, we need to talk. So again, we are trying to handle it, and it is, funny enough, we are hiring for other people, which seems quite easy. It's harder to hire for yourself. And I think the hardest part of that is not, I think everybody can be a good recruiter. It's just about leveraging and talking to people and understand what they need and see if you can help them with that. That's the baseline of the job. The problem is when you have to self-motivate, you call people and chat with them, and they're not face to face, and you don't have colleagues you can lean up against. And what we try to do within the team is that we have weekly meeting. We have a weekly meeting within the team. And then we do every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we have like a team building where we just sit online and laugh together. Once every year, we gather the whole team and meet.
Which is coming up soon.
Which is coming up soon. Next week, we're going to Riga, yes. So we're bringing, I mean, the money we save in not having an office, we're spending that on these annual meetings. And it is hard. It is hard because a person can sit and be fully convinced themselves about being able to work remote. But working remote also means that if you're working from home, there's always dishes you can take. There's always your plants you can water. There's always a trip outside with the dog. You know, the postman is just coming, and you'll be distracted so much, which you might not be used to because you were used to sitting in the office sitting. Yeah. So, and I will say it's not for everybody. No. And that's all right. You know, we're trying to find the people that really love it and want to travel the world with their laptop, and provide that setting for them and that freedom. But as you mentioned, closing down during the day, I'm struggling with that. Yeah. You know, you can always answer one more email. I can always, so being good at being like, okay, now it's 6 o'clock, close the laptop. My little setting has a thing where I can basically close the whole table and be like, it's not there. And then until next morning. Yeah. But you have to find your own way in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that you find it now more difficult to recruit for your own company. Why is that exactly?
I think it's the remote setting. It's literally like there's a lot of people that have been really used to either having a mid-manager, you know, looking over your shoulder, seeing if you're going like 10 times to the toilet during like an hour and going out for multiple cigarette breaks, or, you know, we can't check that. No. The only thing we can basically check on is like in the calling system, have you actually made the calls? You know, have you actually answered your emails? Have we gotten complaints that people can't catch you or you're not showing up for the meetings you're scheduling? We can't check anything else. Then we can check how many people did you hire. Yeah. And whereas we really, really tried to... That's really coming from me. Sorry, there's a microphone. It's really coming from me. I never saw myself as working in a KPI-driven environment. So the fact that I'm in recruitment right now is kind of funny. But we really try to make, it's about the people, and we understand. But again, I don't care about the hours. I know that some of my best recruiters, they're not spending full 40 hours a week. But I don't care. They're delivering, and you know, they're doing their job. Yeah.
And how are they compensated? Do they get compensated on
so
40
we have
hours? Or?
Yeah. So we have a structure which is like a base salary, and then we have commission on top. Okay. So we have a basic KPIs. They get commission from the first hired candidate. But yeah, we have. For the Nordic countries, it might sound weird. And that's again because when you're traveling around, unless you work in Norway, Denmark or Sweden, salaries are a bit different. But they have a quite good main salary that they get no matter what. And then on top of that, a quite all right bonus system.
Yeah. Can you give an example of that? What they would find different or strange about that?
Well, if you look up what you earn in Denmark, for instance, mind you that taxes are quite high, but when a young
I have no idea how much that is. Can you give
taxes in Denmark starts, I think, at 31%. That's the bare minimum, but most people pay probably around 45%. And then I think the top taxes is 60%.
Okay. Income tax.
Yeah. Okay. So if you say like 45%, that's almost 50% of your salary that goes to taxes, right? And you're told in Denmark that when you have a bachelor degree, I think starting salary when you're brand new is about 3,000 euros a month, 3 to 4 income taxes. So, and then you pay taxes of that. But but that's the starting. Then if you have a master, you start at 5, 6, or 7,000. Right, that's just the starting point, and then varies from different industries. But that's what you're told. So when we work with students who are coming straight out of high school, they're used to earning maybe 25 to 30 euros an hour on standing in a store, or babysitting, or it's really hard to compete when you want to hire them in Greece. Yes. Where the minimum base salary is about 900 euros a month. It's and you're still, if you're out of high school, you're still not educated. You're still not in a specific field. So
you need experience.
So battling that's one of our biggest hurdles, to actually explain, well, let's say you earn 1,500 here, but you also only pay 15% in taxes.
Yeah. And cost of living.
The cost of living is half. And so in the end, I'm actually breaking it down. So at the end of the day, you have equivalent to having this much money to yourself every month. How does that sound? And they're like, oh, all right. But it takes that breaking down what it would be. Yeah. Because the numbers sounds, if I want 3,000 euros a month, well, 1,500 is what I can offer you. That's not always popular.
No. Can imagine.
Yeah, but that's sometimes I also kind of enjoy to give maybe young people from very privileged countries, let's call Holland and Denmark and Germany and Scandinavia, give them a little bit of reality check, because they want the sun, and they want the south, and they want the different cultural experience. But they also want the salary that they get at home, and they would prefer if they can get the same food. And it would also be really nice if they could just hang out with people from their country. Yeah. So sometimes it's about rattle them up a little bit and be like, why are you actually doing this?
Yeah, you can't have it all.
No, that's the thing.
You have to pay a price somewhere.
That's a hard lesson.
Yeah, I think it is. But it translates to almost everything. I mean, it's about running a business as well. You can be, if you measure it in financial success, because that's easier than mental healthness, for example. But if you want that means you have to pay a price for doing a lot of other things to actually get there. Yeah. And a lot of people want that. Yeah. And they don't want to give up their life, and they don't want to make any sacrifices. And they just want to...
I'm more proud of saying, when people ask, how's the company doing? I'm mentioning how many people we're hiring and how many people that is within our team, and we're hopefully making a difference for. I rather want to mention that than I want to mention, but this is what it's on the bottom line in the end of the year. Because for us, until now, the last 6 years, it hasn't meant a different in our private life. It hasn't meant that I bought a fancy car, or it just meant that those money went in so we can hire more people, change and do better things. Yeah. So I think money measuring it in... it's how you measure it and how you communicate it. Yeah. But we're basically working with humans. So I think it's best to measure it in humans.
Yeah, but I mean, the entire economy, the entire world is fixated on that, and it is a tool again, and it's also exactly meant for that, so you can measure things, what the output is and all that. Because, like I said, mental healthness and how fulfilled you are is more difficult to measure than
definitely
your financial buffer or whatsoever. But that is not what it's about in life. That is what a lot of people will find out if they haven't found out yet. But,
exactly. We're really trying, again, with hiring people. We have a lot of different kind of people, as I mentioned in the beginning. One that's traveling the world, one that's sitting with her family, one that bought some land in Portugal and is helping dogs rescue, has a little rescue center, and that's her dream. So they need to work to earn money, and if we can provide that, that's super great. Yeah. working in a work setting where we have to make space for all of those personalities is sometimes a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And doing that then remote, that's where the once a year meeting comes in and where we can really touch base.
Yeah. No, it must be incredible. I mean, ultimately, at the end of your life, you have only so many memories, and the more you can get, the more experiences you can get. That is what it's about, I think.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have written down some few. I think we have covered it already, but one of them that we wanted to know is what inspired you to adopt a hands-on approach with Job Squad, supporting candidates just beyond job listings.
It's the humanity of it. Yeah. Can you say that? It is really touching base with people. The fact that when I moved abroad the first time, I would have loved if there was somebody who just I had a little helpline somewhere. I could just ask how do I do this, or is there that? And that's what we're providing now. So it's the humanity of it. And for me, it also, as I said, we're still recruiting. We founded it 6 years ago and we're doing so many different things. I'm still trying to recruit for the simple reason that I need to know in our processes, in order to hire more people in to do that process, is it still working? And you only figure that out by being hands-on and knowing what's happening in your company. Yeah. And the days go past really fast, and I really enjoy that I can see that something that we set up is something that's easy to use and making a difference. I think that keeps inspiring us.
Brilliant. Yeah. You have answered this question as well, but how has living and working across multiple countries shaped your entrepreneurial mindset? Becoming agile, really, really agile, ready to, I mentioned previously that we never started with a business plan. We just kind of jumped into it. And I think that's still the approach we're taking a little bit. We're trying every year to have this, the formal meeting where you say, okay, what's going to happen the next year? And I think what I can look back at the last 3-4 years is we have the meeting, we put things up on a whiteboard. It looks very, good. We take notes, we do the things we have to do as a business. 2 months go by into the year and everything has completely pivoted and changed. And so I think we haven't stopped doing it, because it's always good to stop and think about it. But we're kind of taking it as it go along. And being that agile, still coming from maybe being a startup into a scale up more, I think is super important, because the world around us change. And for me, meeting business people and going to school in different countries, personally, I think it's changed me. I'm more grateful for what I have and what I see, and I'm also more open to change things I can see not working. Yeah. I don't sit and say oh, but we do like that because that's what I grew up with and that's the way to do it. I'm more open to listen to other people and know that there are probably better solutions out there than what I have. Yeah. At least different solutions.
Different solutions, and again,
to the same problem. Yeah.
Always open to try it, which I will say previously I probably been a little bit no, this is the way you run it. This is how it should be, because this is what I was taught in school or what I saw. And then now more see that, okay, this part might work better that way. But then listening to how people can find solutions to problems, and also say, I think I'm more open to say, this is the end goal. However you want to get there, figure it out. Yeah. That's okay. And still learning to give away some authority and some power, because we are growing. But as a person, for me, I think learning and accepting that not everything has to be the Danish way. It's not always the solution. Yeah.
Very good. I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
So what is your vision for the future of work, particularly regarding hybrid roles and global mobility?
I hope that we can scale it as we're doing right now. I also mentioned that, one of the big drivers for me is to actually provide this opportunity to our team. Yeah. The fact that whether it is nice sometimes to get dressed up and go to a meeting, right? It gives you that, and seeing the outside world, sitting at home, sitting in a hostel, being there for your kids, and then working at night if that fits you. I want to scale that. I want to give that opportunity to more people. And I hopefully that Job Squad and our company can maybe become a little bit of the discussion and maybe move a little bit. Well, I'm not saying educational systems because that's hard, but maybe in the hiring and HR discussions of how you hire people, how you find the right talent. Love if we can move a little bit there, because I think that's needed for the next many years.
Yeah. At least inspire people to talk about this subject.
Exactly. Yeah. So make a little bit of stir, and both me and my business partner love if we can, not piss people off, but push them a little bit. Then you're onto the
get them thinking.
Get them thinking. Yeah.
Good. No, I think it will be very important because the world is always changing. Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
You know that's just a constant
the thing. Right now, everybody's talking about how AI is, taking over jobs or doing that. I think it's the same as the industrial period. No, there will be just new jobs. There'll just be other things to do.
Different.
But definitely, I think we are after Corona also a bit more open. As I said, everybody wants remote jobs, but people are not fully ready for it. People are not fully ready to manage their own days. And I don't blame them because we're not trained to do that. That's something that it takes time.
And I think a lot of people forget that you can get a lot of fulfillment about just doing hard work, There is nothing wrong with that. And it can be very satisfying. Sometimes I miss it. That you just have a very clear task that you focus on and work on, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
You do that, you have a good time with your colleagues, and that's it.
Yeah. No, it's not like sometimes I do wake up in the morning and I wish there was just somebody who basically said, "Hi, welcome to your day. Please do this." Instead you have an email and you have to figure out what is priority, and just prioritizing things takes brain capacity. Like before you even start the task, you need to figure out which one to start with. Yeah. That's a hard thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they also recommend not looking at your emails, right? So only do it in scheduled blocks, for example.
Exactly,
so, I find it still difficult though.
It is, and you hear the pling and the phone rings and
just take a quick look. All right, I'll watch it later. But then you keep thinking about it. All right, what am I going to respond? But anyways, related to the previous question, but if you could predict one major shift in recruitment or work culture over the next decade, what would it be?
I can say what I wish it would be, but I don't think that's exactly...
what would you wish it to be?
I would wish that we shifted maybe a little bit away from having one HR in companies. I think the hiring process of having one person for the entire company, having to be, especially for big companies, having to know everything that happens in each sector of the company. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. And for me, as a person coming into interviewing, I rather want to speak to my manager. I rather want to speak to the people from the team. We're trying to involve people in the team when we're hiring new people. It's not just me sitting. I might do some screening and I might find some, but it's our team leaders or sometimes people in the team that does the talking. Because when you have either a boss or an HR manager, you also sit and tempt to be like a little bit intimidated, and you want to say the right things and do the right, you're afraid to ask the questions that you actually need to know in order to start a job. So I hope that it can become a little more communicative and a little less hierarchy in the recruitment process. That would be really good. And then as jobs are changing, I think that will come automatically. I think a lot more people is open to starting their own thing or to take jobs that are not in the normal settings. So I think with that, a lot of things will change. And what direction it goes in, well, it's...
only time will tell.
Yeah. It can be.
But you can sort of predict how it's going based on how people behave and what they're expecting.
Yeah.
And
I think at the moment, and I believe that's all over Europe, I think the young people today, they also have a lot of job opportunities. We see it as in, I might offer a job, but before they start that job, they already accepted another one as well, and they just jump from job to job because it's possible. We have too little people and too many jobs to fill. So for younger people, I think the training to do interviews and to be critical thinking and be a bit more assertive in learning, okay, if you say yes to that, communicate what you're choosing, because it is impacting. We can see not only for us, but one of the reasons why the companies come to us is because Well, we did a hiring round, and it actually went well, but only half of the people started because they got other job offers, right? So creating a hook for young people, because they have too many opportunities. You need to create a hook. You need to create the best work environment. And I don't always think that is just the highest paycheck, even though that's something we struggle with. But I think it's also the environment, the offers of working half in the office, half from home, whatever it could be, getting a nice computer, getting some nice work trips, getting some good bonuses. But the hiring part and the HR part of different companies just need to be agile. And I don't think that has happened in the last many years. I think the hiring structure, you can see the interview guides and stuff that goes around is the same that's been for the last 30 years. And I think we need to slowly start changing that. Yeah. It's becoming more about the people and less about the skills. The skills you can always learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That became a little bit long, but yeah.
No, but yeah. So, yeah, very logical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And how would you then say, I mean, there is a cliche going around that the next generation is, they don't know what hard work is, they're not willing to put in the work. What is your opinion on that?
I don't think it's true, but because they have so many offers, you need to make yourself relevant. And
how do you do that?
I think a lot what we're talking about today is being inclusive, and that's something that really values high with the newer generations. It's not so much about suiting up. I was still am a part of a large network for young entrepreneurs all over the world, and when I became a part of that when I was 16, it was like, oh, those people, like, they're wearing suits, that looks so cool. I wish I could wear high heels every day, right? And this is my work uniform today. I still love getting dressed up, but it's not the job. It's more about feeling that you make a difference. It's more feeling that you're invited in and welcome as you are. And it's more, about like how you're feeling. The young generation are very, very good at talking about how they're feeling, and you need to listen to that. And I think we fall short on that. We're talking about the boomer generation, millennials. I think we sometimes fall very short of listening to how the young generation is feeling, because if they're feeling like that, for us, that's also our target group. If my employers are feeling like that and they're part of the target group, then I need to listen. And I think we're falling short of that. And then it's very easy for the older generation to say, but they don't want to work. I don't think that's what it's about. But they want to make a difference. They don't just want to sit and feel like they're doing a job that's not valuable. Mm. So we're struggling as well. And I'm not that many years from this young generation, but it is changing.
I say we are both kind of in between. So our parents and family, they are the boomer generation, and we're looking at the next generation. Exactly.
And again, we're trying to hire young people for our sake. Like, we're trying to include our interns and have meetings and try to really sit and listen to how people are feeling and hear them. Sometimes I have that, I don't know if my boomer voice comes and be like, oh, come on, just do it. Yeah. Come on.
Stop complaining.
Get yourself up. You should know what we've been through. And I can hear that boomer voice. At the same time, I know that's not going to help anybody. Mm. Like, me coming out like that and being that kind of boss in the end, that's not going to help anybody. No. So instead, turning it around, say like, oh, how would you solve this? What is your suggestion? And just really taking in. Sometimes you're still allowed to say, okay, but we tried that in the past. That's not going to work. And okay, laying it out like, this is what we basically need to do. Who would like those tasks? And just try to include them and make them feel like they're part of a change or a certain thing. Giving away responsibility to the youngsters. And again, I talked about like putting a goal. However do you want to reach that goal? But we need to reach that goal. Then it's up to you. And if you want to do it by talking feelings and being inclusive and doing projects around that, fantastic. Yeah. If you want to just sit and hardcore put in the hours and just sit and work and do that, fantastic. I don't care how we reach that. Yeah. And
you have some great leaders that when really I just said they really took that to the next level. Elon Musk is a very cliche good example of that, but he doesn't say we're going to do X or whatever, but he crafted a vision and put everyone with him on that mission.
Yeah.
So they feel sort of included to get there, and that makes them much more empowered to take action.
He's the new one, but also even if you look at Steve Jobs,
yeah,
he was
Jobs as well,
famous for just saying, I like to hire lazy people, right? Because they find the new way to do it. They just take the long straight road, but they might do a bit of jumps because they need to get to the end goal, but they want to do it faster so they can spend more time doing other stuff.
Yeah,
It's still a little bit the mentality, and I think in order...
if you're a hard worker, then you find a hard working solution to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not always the easiest or the best.
Sometimes it does take the straight road and you need to do the work. But most of the times, and especially with all the new tools that's coming out, instead of just saying no and that's not, let's find a solution to include it and see what it can do for you. It doesn't have to take over completely, but you need to be open for it, because otherwise you're falling behind.
Yeah, I sometimes see myself doing that. I don't want to say that I'm a very hard worker, but I consider myself hard working. So I very often come up with solutions that require so much more work.
Yeah.
When I speak with someone and say, just use AI, and then, yeah, all right. Yeah. I haven't thought about that.
No, for me, AI is still like, I feel like it's a bit of fake. Like writing an article with that, I'm still off it. I don't like it. I can though see that you can use it here and there, and if you actually learn, critical thinking and a little bit respect to the media, you will find a way where you can include it to help you, but not be overtaking. But I think that's the balance. And again, it's one of the things that we're not taught in school yet, right? We're not taught to, when you search on Google, don't just click on the ones in the top. They might have paid a lot of money to be there, you need to, and it's not the truth that's always in the top. Things like that, we're not really taught yet. And our kids are not even taught that. No. So being in this space of a changing world, especially at the moment with all the electronic online things that can come in and help and disturb jobs, can also help you, but you need to be taught how to use it. Yeah,
you need to find a way to make that work for you.
Or create a space where people can test it.
Yeah, where they can test it, And I think coming back to AI or ChatGPT is one of the most obvious examples, where you have millions of very specific functions and features and all that. But I think it can you can really use that to come up with ideas, and that at least gives you a starting point to get thinking and get going. And
a simple thing that I never thought about was I had my friends visiting, and one of them told me, no, when we go on especially really short weekend breaks, we want to experience everything there is in this city, but it can be really hard to sit and Google each thing. So I always ask ChatGPT, and they come up with the most amazing holiday plan, especially in the time I'm there, this time of year, blah, blah. And I was like,
wow.
Okay, that can save you some time. And it's about finding those spots where it makes sense to use and not make it too hard on yourself.
No. And it will develop incredibly fast. I think it's one of the
Everybody's spitting information into it, so...
Yeah, and it learns very quickly. I think it's one of the biggest inventions that we have done. Yeah,
it's interesting because everybody can be against it, but even the person sitting swearing it to hell is also sitting, as I said, spitting in information, feeding it information. Yeah. And I'm like, if you really don't like it, turn it off. Stop feeding it information, because the more you give it, the more you will be able to use it, right? So
you feed it anyway.
Yeah, but it's the same with social media. We're not trained, our parents' generation, not trained to it. No. Putting all the anger out there, not...
And that's exactly what the algorithm wants.
Yeah,
I want to trigger a certain emotion,
Yeah, I'm caught in that sometimes if I'm watching like a reel or TikTok, which basically you can see it's downright wrong. I'm like, that is not how, and I'm like, no, don't, it's the point of it. It wants you to do that, don't do it, but I'm falling again, the boomer.
Yeah. That was exactly the same as the time when internet came up and when digital currency and payments came up and computers, you can, there is not really much sense in fighting against it.
No.
If you really don't like it, just ignore it.
Yeah, just ignore it. Don't put pictures of your kids up if you don't like that. No. It's that simple. Don't feed it with private information, but you can ignore it, but you cannot fight it. Yeah, exactly. It's.
I just laugh because I have a scene in my head. I always have that. Have you ever seen the series Parks and Recreation?
No.
Oh no. No, you don't get the reference.
All right.
But There's a very stubborn guy, and he is surprised how that computer knows his name.
Yeah,
he's
but that's
not happy with that, so he takes his entire computer and throws it in the dumpster. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. I just have one question left to inspire the people that you're looking for as well, the students or the younger people. What is a good tip? What is your best tip for them to get started with this?
Can I be super cliche right now?
Yeah.
Just say if you want something you never had, you have to do something you never done. It's the line that, you know, if you want to stay where you are, great, do that. But if you want to develop yourself, if you want to get to know about the world, if you want to have more or have something you didn't have, if you're dreaming of something, you need to throw yourself into it. And whether that is starting a business, moving to a new country, joining a network, taking a gap year abroad. A gap year doesn't have to be when you're 19 to 25. It can also be when you're 50, when you have adult kids. Do something you haven't tried before and accept that that is always hard. Because you can easily say, oh, move abroad, it's lovely, sunny in south of France. It's also hard. The paperwork can be a challenge, the language can be a challenge, but if you were not up for the challenge, you're not up for the development. It comes hand in hand. Yeah. So yeah, just allow yourself to be confused and allow yourself to, whether that is in business or allow yourself to just try and say yes. And then go with that yes. Don't say yes and then be like, I'm going back to my little bubble. Allow yourself, if you said the yes, then try to see it through. Doesn't have to be for years on end, but try to see it through. Yeah. And if you move abroad, my biggest advice is to stay more than 3 months. There's a reason that a tourist visum is 3 months. It's because you're still a tourist. If you pass the 3 months, you start getting your favorite pub. You start meeting people. You start not getting lost anymore. You start becoming it with the culture and not just a tourist. So, yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's it.
Thank you so much. That's gold.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.